Hey guys, welcome back to the Blue Elephant Gifts. Today is our Dollar Tree Upscale. So I went there and I got these two really neat wooden signs. I like this one that I'm doing now because it's just got that big, it's actually a pretty thick wooden circle behind it. And it's perfect. Now, the other one that I'm doing with this that will go on the back of this is one of the really fragile wooden cutouts, and it is absolutely gorgeous. I mean, I know it's Halloween, and saying gorgeous to Halloween stuff is kind of weird, but it really, really is. And I like the idea of the two of them together. You can flip it over, whichever one you want, to show, or if you want to hang it from one of the the plant holder things on your ceiling or whatever, and you can kind of hang it up there or do whatever with it, sky's the limit, honestly. So anyway, what I'm doing right now is I'm just giving this the background. I just gave it a really, really good coating of black acrylic paint. First of all, I need to seal the wood because I am going to be putting resin in it. I also had to do, I think it was about 3 coats of this yellow green color because it's very, very, very light. So just to get it to show up and hide the wooden color, it took quite a bit. I am now painting the back of the board because we're going to be using this as the other side. So it's going to get a coating of black as well. And from this point, after I'm done painting this, we're just going to let it all set and dry. I do go over this after it has been painted with a actual wood clear gloss varnish for a couple of reasons. One is again to seal the wood. I did not go inside all of the little where the cutout parts are on poison and stuff like that and paint in there. So none of that has been sealed. So I need to seal it because that is where I will be pouring resin later. And it's just going to seal it from air bubbles and, all that fun stuff. It's also going to give it a nice glossy shine too, which is nice to have. And here we are. Is this part of it is done as far as the painting bit goes. So at this point, now we're going to move on to the next one. And I think this turns out really cool, by the way. I like it a lot. This one, I love it. I mean, I think it's really, really neat. I love the picture. This is probably my favorite thing that I've done so far. I really like this one a lot, how it turns out. Um, just going over, you can see I went over the border with some purple, and now I'm painting in the bats with black. And then I am going to move on to the outer edge of it, and I'm going to hit that up with some yellow. Here's where I kind of had some issues because as I had started, my initial thought was I was going to paint the entire border purple. So I kind of went out of the lines essentially on that purple. And then I changed my mind later on. I was talking to my husband and I was like, I don't know if I really should do this purple. This is my vision for what I have. What should I do? He was like, do it yellow. So, okay, I will. And I mean, like acrylic paint, it covers over itself for the most part, but I just couldn't get it to cover over that one purple spot. So I'm going to have to do some finagling later on to kind of take care of that. But it's still, I had the problem. And again, it turns out really, really cool. So the house. This is another one that I kind of went back and forth with him. I was like, this is what I have envisioned. I don't want it to be a pretty house. When you think of haunted houses and stuff like that, you think of the like gray, just kind of gloomy, almost black, kind of just the houses. But I didn't want black either because I know black is the background for the other one, and I don't want too much black. I want some kind of color to it. So I took a silver paint and I brushed it over once, kind of lightly. You could still see the wood-ish color through it. Gave it another quick thin coat of gray. And then what I did from that point was I took my it's actually silver, my bad, not gray. I took my silver and I just added the tiniest bit of black just to darken it up some so that I can get some kind of just like different shades of that silver in there. So I took it, made it slightly darker, and kind of almost dry brushed it in spots. Nothing pretty, just sloppy, just splotched it on and kind of brushed it out, smoothed it out a little bit. Then I took that color and made it a little bit darker and then made it a little bit darker. And you can see how, I kind of concentrated the darkest on the rooftops and the different like areas on the first floor where like the roof would be of those particular areas. And I just made it darker in the areas that it should be darker, if that makes sense. But made it so that it doesn't look pretty at all. Like, I don't want it to look pretty. It needs to be run down and dirty and gross looking. Took a little bit of black and kind of highlighted it around along those steps. Now I'm just adding some dark green, again, a tad bit of black just to darken it up. And right around the edges of the yard is I'm just putting just a little bit of it. And then to kind of go around that yellow border as well. Again, I don't want it to look pretty. It needs to look beat up, like really beat up. So that's what I'm going with. The yard clearly has not been landscaped, as you can tell. But yeah, it's just, going in and just kind of messily, but not applying the color. And then I'm going to go along this side because I didn't like how just kind of straight lined it was. I'm going to go along this side of like where the house and the grass kind of connect. And I'm going to add some longer, like individual blades of grass or weeds or whatever, just to kind of give it that illusion of it being overgrown and, not taken care of and all the things that you would find on your typical haunted house. I like it. Again, this piece is my favorite piece, and it's not just because of what this is so far, it's just the end result that you'll see here in a little bit. So I went ahead with the bats because they kind of get lost on there, and I just outlined them in some silver paint just to kind of brighten them up and give them some more definition and to make it easier to see. So I decided that I wanted a red background, kind of like a blood moon type deal. So I just kind of took the basic, like where that center piece would be. I don't want the whole thing to be red. I just want it to be the red right behind the house. So I took the basic shape of the inside of where the house and stuff is. And I know I have a little bit of space because of the borders and whatever that I can go over, but I want to make sure that I get that paint done really, really thick and heavy in that area. So I'm going over it big time. I don't care if I get a lot of paint brush strokes or whatever. It doesn't matter to me because I plan on putting resin back here, but I'm using a new glow powder and I'm not sure if it's going to be super opaque or if it's going to be transparent or what. So I do want the red to show through just in case, I guess, if that makes sense. So it doesn't have to be neat as long as the borders are going to cover up the edges, and I'm fine with that as long as you can see the red. That's what matters to me. So now what I'm doing is what I've done in a lot of my other pieces. I'm just taking that Duraclear gloss varnish and some glitter, and I am painting along the edges just to highlight and give some detail around the border of this. And I think it looks gorgeous. Like the purple glitter that I'm using, oh my god, it is so pretty. Can you see all the different colors that you can see in there? Like, I love it. So now to hide the mistakes that I made in the yellow, I'm going to take some yellow glitter and my gloss varnish, mix it up, and I'm going to go along, and I'm not just going to do the outsides of this. I'm going to actually go along and do the entire yellow part, but I will kind of make sure that along the edges does get done because that's where those purple lines that I couldn't get the yellow to quite cover are, and it kind of hides that mistake that I made, which It's fine. It works for me. It turns out great. And, it does hide those areas where I screwed up, and it does give it a nice border. Now, I didn't go in with the purple and put the glitter attached to like where the yellow and the purple meet. I just put it more along the outside edges. And you can see, I mean, it just gives it a little extra shine, little extra detail, and again, a little extra hiding Nicole's mistakes. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do the same thing with the bats. I'm going to get some black glitter and I'm just going to go over the main part of them and just make them a little shiny and stand out a little bit more and give them the detail too. I am also going to, I don't know if you saw, but I took a little bit of the purple glitter that I had left over and I just added just a tiny bit of that to the black just to give it just a touch of a different color and just a little bit more so it's not quite just black and boring. And then I'm going to take it and I'm just going to put a tiny little bit along the rooftops and where I put the darker silvery color when I had done the painting, just again to accent the piece a little bit and give it just a little bit more detail. And that's pretty much it as far as the glitter goes. We're done with that. The one thing that I decided that I kind of lost the silver paint that I had put along the bats. So instead, I'm going to take, instead of going back with the paint again, I'm going to go ahead and get my paint marker. And I'm just going to edge those real quick and be done with them. And it just kind of brings it out a little bit more. I mean, you can tell the difference right now when you're looking at it between the one that I'm doing now and the one where I had painted. It makes it pop a little bit more and kind of honestly makes it look like it's coming out of the picture itself and is more upfront than the house. So it does bring that extra detail and whatever to it. All right, all my paint's dry now. Now it's time to glue these two pieces together. So I'm just going to take some wood glue. I'm going to squeeze it on here, and then I'm going to get a paintbrush, and I'm just going to go over the entire piece with the paintbrush and spread that glue. I want to make sure I get a really, really good seal on this because once I pour the resin, I don't want it to come leaking out and go all over the piece. Like that would be so horrible. Oh my God, that would be terrible. So I need to make sure that this sucker is stuck down good. So over it with all the glue, then I am going to line up the two holes and center it. And then I'm going to take my little clippy guys here and clip it on to press it down to make sure that I get that really tight glue seal on there. And the rest of all of that glue that's in there, I'm just kind of wiping it off, kind of spreading it around the edges of the pieces. 24 hours later, and now it's time to resin. So I'm going to do the poison side first, and I'm also going to use the NicPro Crystal Clear Finish resin that I received a few weeks ago. If you guys haven't checked out my video where I review it, you should check it out. There will also be a discount code in the description box for you guys to use. And I am trying out some new glow powders. I don't know if you guys have ever tried Art and Glow glow powders. This is my first time actually trying them. I've seen some other YouTube videos. Evan and Caitlin, I don't if you guys have ever watched them, they use this particular brand and their stuff glows like a lot better than my other glow powders did. So I decided that I wanted to try them. I at first was going to use green for inside the poison, at least the parts of the poison where like the wood's connected. And then I decided that I'm going to use yellow instead. This one that I'm putting in now for the face, it's white powder, but when it glows a red. And when I bought it, I kind of thought that it was colored red. So I was a little disappointed to see that it was white because my whole like thought process for the other side was to do red. And I can't put that on my background and have it white because I need it to be red. So now I've got to think of a whole nother thing to do with that. But anyway, I thought white would look okay for his eyes. I wanted a little bit something different for his face than the color that I'm using for the poison. And I am using yellow. It does look green uh, up against this, but it is yellow. And I'm just kind of getting a toothpick in there to get all those tiny little spots and make sure that it is in all over the place so that I get it good. Now, I am taking it and I am mixing it up periodically because it does take me a little bit of time to get it into all these tiny little areas. And you want to make sure you do that with glow powders because all the glow powder itself tends to sink to the bottom. And if you don't, then you're not putting anything in and your piece isn't going to glow. So we don't want that. But yeah, so that's all I'm doing right now, really, is I'm going to do this. I'm going to let it cure. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that between the paint and that wood varnish that I put over it, that I'm not going to have any issues with air bubbles coming out. So, let's keep our fingers crossed. All right, so this one, I felt like since I couldn't use the red like I wanted to, I was going to use the orange that I got. It's kind of like an orangey red, so it kind of works out. And the red from where I painted it still kind of shows through a little bit. So I still get the blood moon effect that I was going for, which makes me really, really happy. Now, the issue that I came across when doing this is all of those windows and all those little details in the house were a pain in the butt to put resin in. I mean, they were rough. I was doing it one drip at a time. But it worked. I got it in there. I didn't have any problems. Again, zero bubbles. The wood glue did its job and sealed it. The varnish that I used did its job and sealed it, and we didn't have any leakages. We didn't have any problems, and we didn't have any bubbles, which is most important. And the glow on these pieces are fantastic. Like, I can't wait for you guys to see them. And here we are, 24 hours later. Everything is dry. Look how cool that looks. I absolutely love this side. I really, really, really do. And the poison side, like, that's pretty badass too. So this is done. I did decide that I think I want to give him some eyeballs. So I got 2 black rhinestones and I just took a little bit of super glue and I stuck them babies in there. And then I'm going to take some black cord that I got and just tie a loop so that we can hang them. And as you guys look at the glamour shots, I just want to say a big fat thank you to all of you who have subscribed. If you haven't subscribed, consider. It really does help my channel out. Hit that like button and share. And I will see you guys in the next one. Love ya. Bye.